Today, I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on this lovely book. It's titled A Good Name by Yejide Kilanko. So let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's Rachel here. As always, hit that subscribe button so you never miss a thing. Like this video so it is recommended to other viewers as well. You can also leave a comment as you're watching the course of this video. I hope you like the theme song for the book reviews. That's going to be the theme song for the book reviews going forward. So anytime there's a book review, just be ready. Then we're going to do the let's get into it. Let's get into it. All right, so today I'm going to be talking about this nice book. It's called A Good Name by Yejide Kilanko. Now, I've read Yejide Kilanko's Daughters Who Walk This Path, and I remember reading it in 2019, even if I think it was published in 2012 or so. But just reading that book, I will never forget how I felt. It was such an amazing book. It was so gut-wrenching. It made me cry. And I'll never forget when I picked up the phone and I called you and I was crying on the phone. No, how could this happen? A lot of times we just forget that these books are purely fictional, but hey, I mean, it's part of it. So I really loved her writing, and I thought that she wrote that book very beautifully. So of course, when I saw A Good Name, I asked you, "Oh, what do you think about it?" She's like, "Okay, yeah, you probably like it." So I'm like, "Okay, yes, let's do another one by Yejide Kilanko." So this is a fiction book. It's Nigerian fiction. It's written by a Nigerian writer. It's a fiction book. So let me just let you know who the author is in case you don't know who she is. So Yejide Kilanko was born in Ibadan, Nigeria, a writer of fiction and poetry. Kilanko's debut novel, Daughters Who Walk This Path, a Canadian national bestseller, was longlisted for the inaugural Etisalat Prize and the 2016 Nigeria Literature Prize. Her works include a novella, Chasing Butterflies 2015. I think I've read that one too. Yes, and I really loved it. I've read Chasing Butterflies and I really loved it. Two children's picture books. There is An Elephant in My Wardrobe 2019 and Juba and the Fireball 2020. Her short fiction is in the anthology New Orleans Review 2017, The African Literary Hustle. Kilanko lives in Ontario, Canada. She's an amazing writer, honestly. You can be sure that the standard of her writing is always going to be top notch every time you pick up a book. So now, A Good Name. Let's get into this one. So let me read out the synopsis of what this book is about. 12 years in America and Eziafa Okereke has nothing to show for it. Desperate to rewrite his story, Eziafa returns to Nigeria to find a woman who he can mold to his taste. 18-year-old Zina has big dreams. An arranged marriage to a much older man isn't one of them. Trapped by family expectations, Zina marries Eziafa, moves to Houston, and trains as a nurse. Buffeted by a series of disillusions, the couple stagger through a turbulent marriage until Zina decides to change the rules of engagement. I have to really give props to these people that write the synopsis of these books. Except maybe it's the author that wrote it herself, but that's a really nice way to put what happened in this book. So yeah, like I said, this is a really great book. It was published in 2021, and like I said, it is fiction. It's about 365 pages, so it's a long one, but I enjoyed it to a large extent. I'm just seeing the acknowledgements because I really like to read the acknowledgements written by authors. And I'm just saying that it took 11 years for this book to become a reality. That is a really long time. But yeah, I think it was worth it. I really liked it. I think one thing that stood out for me is that this book is well edited. Like, it is perfection. It is I love a well edited book. I love a book that is like written beautifully, and everything is just flowing. There's nothing irritating you left, right, and center. It's just flowing. So yeah, so like this book says, like the synopsis says, this book is primarily about Eziafa, who goes to America. He has been there for about 12 years, nothing to show for it. He's basically like a taxi driver, he's a cab driver, and he's basically living from end to end, and there's nothing to show for it. And then he wants to just change his life, and he feels like, being married can change everything. But before he does that, oh yeah, like I said, I don't give spoilers in book reviews, but I just help you understand the flow. Before he does that, he meets this really amazing woman in Houston, in America, there. And the woman is mature, she's older, she knows what she wants, she really likes him, she's doing good for herself. She doesn't even mind that he is there still trying to find his own bearing. She's ready to help him out with his life, to sort things out. And he is basically like in his 30s or so, as it were. And she too, she's also in her 30s. She's ready to help him out, ready to. But I think the thing is that, okay, maybe she had been with quite a number of men and she had a past. A lot of people knew about her because she's also Nigerian. So in that Nigerian community in the Houston area, people knew about her. Blah blah blah, whatever. You can tell that I'm even like, whatever. This woman was really amazing for this guy. But what does he do? No, he says he needs to get married and he needs to go to Nigeria, where he can pick one young village girl that he would, in quotes, mold to his taste. And indeed, he does that. So, of course, getting into Nigeria, everybody thinks that, oh, yeah, because he has been in the States, he obviously has money and dollars to spend. And then he too, he's enjoying the whole thing of like, oh, yeah, I'm rich, I have money, blah, blah. Meanwhile, he doesn't really have anything and his life is not how it looks. And then he meets this lady when he goes out one day, and he sees her and he's like, who is this girl? And then basically he wants to marry her. And then they meet with the parents, of course, because he's from America. Everybody's like, oh, the man from America has come. And he's like, how much more older than her? She's like 18 years old and he's almost like, what, 30 something, in his mid 30s. But her parents are like, no, you have to marry him because he's going to take you back to America. This is what he's going to do, that's what's going to do. And then he shall marries her. So I'm talking about from his angle. He marries her, he takes her back, and things don't turn out how he thinks they will turn out. He basically sacrifices just so much for her, because when she gets there, obviously, because she can't really do much, he enrolls her in school, all his savings, he scrapes together, puts her in school. She gets a degree as a nurse, she starts working, so she's able to earn some money as well. But then he's thinking that, oh, because he has done all these things for her, she's going to like somehow repay him. Meanwhile, this girl who was 18 has now entered, she's now like 25, she has been there for so many years. She's coming into a woman of her own. She's discovering what she likes, and she never really loved him, as it were. So she's discovering all the things that she likes. She's her self-awareness journey, she's on that and whatever. And then she's meeting other people as well. This is the part where I'll not give any spoiler. Things now happen, and other things ended up happening that led to some things happening in the end, which I was just like, wow, okay. So that's just the summary of the plot. It's a very, very interesting perspective on certain things, like this early marriage, or like older men coming back to feel like they can marry really young, impressionable ladies who don't have any, in quotes, personality, and you want to mold them into what you think a wife should be. So that was a very good expose on this book, was a very good expose on that particular issue, and I feel like it was well written and the plot basically flowed. I would say that the book was heavily character driven, because it sought to like explore the coming of age, not only of Zina Chidi and her self-awareness and her self-discovery journey, but also Eziafa exploring his own life and the reasons why he did certain things, especially during the book. As you're reading, you're noticing that he takes certain decisions which don't make sense, but it's more or less like societal expectations and things like that. So yeah, I think that the plot was really nice and it flowed. Yeah, it did flow. To be honest, at some point I was like, okay, like what's going on? Let's like, I think I get that way when a book is like almost 400 pages and it's not action packed. It's just like, we're just basically flowing and going along. I'm just wondering like, okay, when are we? There's no plot twist here or there. It's just a story that is building up. So I think I tend to get a little bit impatient when a book writes like that. So at some point I was like, okay, yeah. So I was fairly okay with the way, to be honest, in a dark way, I was okay with the way the book ended. I was because I'm like, well, I mean, so I was okay with the way the book ended. I didn't particularly think it had like this major, climax, as it were, in the book that sort of, did anything, or I didn't have any jaw-dropping moments, kind of, as it were, but it was a nice, enjoyable read in terms of the plot. So moving on to the setting of the book was set primarily, like I said, in Houston, in America, and also in Nigeria, when, of course, Eziafa came back to Nigeria to come and get his wife. So you could see that movement of back and forth in terms of the setting. In terms of the writing of the book was well written. Like I said, I really love a well written, well edited book that is so spotless in the sense of no typos, no any whatever, like everything just flows and it's good to go. So it was written in the third person narrative where you could see Zina and Eziafa's story equally. The characterization of this book, to me, it was really great. I love the way the characters were developed. I actually liked them. I liked Zina's character. I liked Eziafa's character. Not necessarily that I liked their characters, I just liked the development of their characters. And I thought it was a really great attempt. Like earlier said, I felt like, it was mostly a character driven book. And so you could see Zina really coming to her own from when she was a teenager all the way up until she was in her mid 20s, even Eziafa, even Jovita. I really, really loved the development of the characters, and I felt that that was very well written. This book explored certain themes like tradition, culture, like I said, the early marriage thing, societal expectations. Like I mentioned earlier, you saw Eziafa taking certain decisions, not because they were beneficial for him, but just because it is what was expected of him, or because of cultural expectations or societal expectations. A lot of those things were eventually detrimental to him. So there was that. Anyway, I love the way that this book was able to explore those themes, because those are really things that are very applicable, especially that thing, like I said, about men feeling like because they are way older, they want to marry younger women so that they can come and impress them. He was in for a rude awakening, because what happens is that you try to mold a woman because, oh, you married her, you try to give her everything, and you feel like she owes her life to you. And then when she comes into her own and she develops her own personality or her own character, it now becomes an issue. And to be honest, the way this book ended, like, I mean, it was crazy, but it was like, you know, even the Zina too, what was she expecting? But unfortunately for Zina, she didn't have a choice, because her parents basically forced her to marry him. But then it's almost like women who are in these situations can't come to their own. They can't become who they're supposed to be. They can't have their likes. They can't have their dislikes. It's almost like as if she owes her whole life to the man. In fact, at some point, the man even stopped working. I was now like, okay, now I put you through school. Now you have a job because of me. You're in America because of me. You should thank me. Basically, like trying to make her worship the ground that he walked on. And to be fair, the guy too, based on what he knew and what his orientation was, he really did try for the lady. But I mean, the book really ended in a, I don't want to use the word that would describe it, but let me just keep quiet. If you want to pick up the book, you can read it. But yeah, all in all, I really liked the book. I mean, at the end of the day, when I finished reading it, I was like, this is the best. Because when I tried to explain it on my Instagram post, I couldn't because my face wasn't there. But that's the way I felt. I was like, okay, okay. Okay, that was how I felt. I would definitely recommend, if you're looking for a nice Nigerian fiction book to read that tackles really serious themes in our society, like some of the things that I mentioned. I would give it a very strong 4 stars over 5, mostly because I feel like this book was well written and it explored a lot of really great, important themes. Maybe I didn't feel like, okay, there was action in it or whatever, what I was used to, what I was coming from, but it's fine. I still enjoyed it and I liked it. Yeah. So I feel like maybe this book could have been 20 or 40 pages shorter, maybe, or maybe just keep it at 300. To be honest, I feel like when a book doesn't have too many plot twists or action or drama, don't keep it anything more than 300. If I'm just being honest, I don't know. That's just the way I see things. Because I'm like, okay, let's know how this thing ended. But I mean, Yejide Kilanko writes beautifully, and I cannot take that away from her. I really enjoyed this. So let me know what you think about it. If you're going to pick it up, I would definitely recommend, if you're looking for a nice African or Nigerian fiction read. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.